And we're back. Hey, everybody, it's Darren Carter, the party starter, with my favorite guest, Frazer Smith. How are you, Frazer?
Well, I'm good, Darren. If I'm your favorite guest, you need to get out more. That's all I'm going to say. How you doing?
I'm good. This is hilarious to me because you were groundbreaking. You're super popular. People love you. They know you from radio, television, movies, and now with the pandemic, we're all at the same level. We're all doing shows from our homes.
It all brings us back to square one.
Exactly. I can't believe I got you to do my show. So thank you, Frazer.
Well, it's my pleasure, Darren. I'm sorry I'm screwing up your lighting. Hey, I have one question to start things off.
Yeah.
As Aretha Franklin would say, who's zooming who?
Who's zooming who? That's right. I told
Remember
Frazer
that song?
Yeah, I go. I told Frazer, we're gonna do this podcast. We're gonna use Zoom. That way, you can be in your location, I can be in mine. And he told me that, hey, I've done that. Who's zooming who to like a few people. They didn't get the joke, but I got it now. And I looked it up on.
No one got the joke
on YouTube,
except you.
By the way, I saw Aretha Franklin in the Blues Brothers movie. We watched that as a family last night. That's a great movie. Blues Brothers.
That movie never goes out of style. Always a great film. And she was great in that scene with Belushi and Aykroyd at the diner.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Great artist.
There's not one boring scene. The movie just gets better and better and better. Even when they're in their car and they're not playing music, they're listening to music, and it's just a great movie, The Blues Brothers.
It really is, and they really were on a mission from God.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
I like the scene where they're doing the song Behind the Chicken Wire.
Oh my gosh! Doesn't that bring back memories?
As comedians, I think we can relate. We've had a couple gigs like that.
We have, and when I was looking at this, and during the pandemic, we're staying a lot more time at home, spending a lot more time at home, and I've been finding stuff, and I wanted to share a couple things with you and see what you have at your house. Look at this. This is an award I won. It says Star Search, Tulare County Fair, comedy. Look at that. Overall winner.
At first I thought you were going to say the actual Star Search. So I was going to say congratulations.
Yeah, that would be way better. I won Star Search. Actually, I won Star Search in 1989 at the, speaking of chicken wire, at the Tulare County Fair. Look at that, Tulare County Fair. So
wow. Well, that is still quite an honor.
Yeah, it was. I remember I was right next to the pig pens and the sheep races. And
so you beat the sheep, huh?
I did.
And
after I beat the sheep, I choked the chicken. Hey-oh.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Joke.
Yeah, bad. No, this brings back memories because 1989, I would have been like a teenager, and I remember my grandparents drove me from Fresno to Tulare, and it would have been about a 45-minute drive, and it was just a very nice memory, in my mind. My grandparents believing me, we're going to the big Tulare County Fair, and I entered this contest, and I actually won. So
that's cool. That's cool. Who came in second? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I'm just glad that I won because that would have been a long car ride if you don't win.
Yeah, with the grandparents.
Yeah, I told you I said I went to college. Yeah.
How about that other gig that you did earlier in your career where you told me you had to put your head through a table, and it was a buffet table, and then they had the they lifted up the thing to get the food, and you were underneath there doing jokes.
Yeah, that was a gig. It was a corporate. I was starting out as a comedian. I've been doing it a couple of years, and I remember that this corporation paid us money, $300. They drilled holes in the tables, and they had pillows for us to sit on, and we'd sit on the pillows on our knees, and then whenever people would lift the platter, we'd pop up and go, "Hello, would you like some head cheese? I'm the head of the company."
Oh man,
yeah, it was a little. And the worst part of it, Frazer, is I got recognized by this girl I had a crush on in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, I popped up. And she's like, "Oh my God, Darren, is that you?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? How are you?" And then she's trying to make small talk. She's like, so what have you been up to? And I'm like, well, I'm running a Fortune 500 company right now. What do you think I'm up to?
Everyone's worst nightmare right there. All of a sudden, the Tulare Fair is starting to look good after that.
Exactly. I'm like, maybe I can make a living off doing competitions every year. Have you ever done any comedy competitions?
Done a couple. I think I came in last in one. I only did I think one. I came in last. It was, real early in my career. It was at Ice House. And then I've had to judge a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'd rather be a judge than a contestant,
Yeah.
Also, with that contest, I did good. Probably because the competition wasn't that strong, to be honest. And as time goes by, I realize
I'm a little surprised at that in Tulare.
Yeah, I know, right? You would think the hotbed of stand-up comedy, hotbed of stand-up comedy. Forget New York City and Los Angeles. It was Tulare.
Wow, Tulare.
The competition was rough, I tell you.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah, that's I learned quickly after that, like that contests are very, political. People might want to vote for their friends or, whoever brings the biggest crowd. And
yeah, so usually who wins is whoever brings the most people.
Okay, here's what else I have. Look at this. Here's one of my earlier headshots. Actually, I've been doing comedy for about 10 years when I got this. Now, check this out. This is, and I don't know why the photographer told me to squat on a chair. That was something they came up with. They told me to like sit down on a chair on a back, sit backwards on a chair and like squat on it.
Have you got this guy's business card? Because I need some shots. Yeah. That is, wow, you were the rooster back then, man.
That's right. Look at all that hair, man. That was I'm wearing work boots and I'm squatting on a chair backwards. That was
you are rolling,
man. Now this is
right out of Fresno.
Right out of Fresno. Now here's a shot. I like this one. This one's cool. This is the I'm looking through your window as you're taking a shower. Right. That's
the Fresh Prince of Fresno.
Hey. It's like
that is creepy.
So I picture like three girls are showering and they're like, I can't find any towels. And then this guy pops up. I'll help you.
Yeah. There you are.
And here's my last picture. Now, this was supposed to be a theatrical shot, for the people in the audience. That's not really stand-up. It's more like shows your moods, what you can do. And this was supposed to book me a lot of commercials. This is what the intention of this one was. I'm at a counter. Wow. There's some salt and pepper in the background. And I kind of have that look like, maybe I'm waiting for some customers to show up. But what
look like Carrot Top in high school.
But what I hated about this picture phrase is comedy. My agent would, I don't know, somehow my agent would get this to comedy clubs and comedy clubs would post this. And it always had that feeling of like, oh, nobody showed up and I bombed again.
Is that you at a DJ board?
No, I'm actually at Patty's Diner in Burbank and I'm leaning on the counter. And if you look close, you'll see salt and pepper in the background.
I see. Okay. Yeah. But you did you were a DJ, right? In Fresno?
Yeah, I was a DJ in Fresno. And, that was, it was cool because I guess it's just like comedy. Like in comedy, you have your idea of what a comedian should be. So you're sort of doing your imitation of a comedian. And I'd say the same thing happened with radio with me. Like I wasn't myself. I was a DJ, so I would change my voice and do a lot of rhymes. And hey, everybody, I'm Darren Carter, the party starter. I'm Darren, but the ladies call me Darren. Darren, what's happening, ladies? Hip hop station B95, Fresno's Killer B. And then you take off the headphones and look out. You'd see like a train going by, a rusty tractor.
Yeah. Really, Fresno doesn't seem like a hip hop hotbed.
Yeah, especially back in 1989 when I was doing it. It was like,
Did you enjoy being a DJ?
Yeah, I really did. I remember seeing, I don't know, to tell you the truth, I really wanted to be a DJ, but then I did have a little bid of an awakening when I'd look in the parking lot. And I remember like the DJ's cars, the on-air personalities' cars were on this side of the parking lot. and on the other side of the parking lot were the sales staff. And the sales staff always had really nice cars, or just cars that looked like they were running. And the staff, their cars didn't look so good. And I was
They looked like they were lucky to get there that day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That never changes, by the way. That never changes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So
sales staff always drives nice cars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like, I wasn't one of those. I mean, I'm my dream wasn't to have like a super nice car, but it did make me think like, wow, like, you know, I have some life decisions to make here. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know you like hip hop. You're a big fan of hip hop music, though.
Yeah, especially back then. I think, you know, growing up, you know, I was more like a hip hop fan, and then I don't know. Then as I got older and became a dad, I just kind of, I don't know. I wanted songs that I could relate to. Like I want, you know, a rapper to rap about having a backyard, or maybe, you know, health insurance, or, you know, something I could relate to. You know, like, you know.
Well, yeah. What I like, you're into all kinds of music. I mean, you like country, and you like rock, and you know, rap. So you run the gamut with your musical taste.
Yeah, they sure is.
It surprised me that you like country as much as you do.
Yeah, you know what it is.
You know,
yeah, especially when I like the stories of country, and just like how I like the stories of hip hop when I got into it. Like, you know, I like a good story, man. Where you're like, you know, like what's that guy, David Allan Coe? That can you give us a little of that? Like, I love the story of this guy.
Well, David Allan Coe was a real character.
Yeah, he was a character, right? He was like an outlaw country singer.
He was an outlaw. And there was a whole outlaw movement in country there for a while, and he had some crazy lyrics. The one I always remember is "Long-Haired Redneck."
Yeah, give us a little "Long-Haired Redneck" if you remember the words.
The country DJs all think I'm an outlaw. They'd never come to see me in this dive, where bikers stare at cowboys who are looking at the hippies who are praying they'll get out of here alive. And the loudmouth in the corner's getting to me, talking about my earrings and my hair. I guess he never saw signs that say I've been to prison. Someone better tell him before I knock him off his chair.
Yeah.
See, that's cool, man.
That kind of has that hip hop kind of sound, you know, like that. I like that, you know.
It's got a groove. Yeah.
How did you get into radio? And for those that don't know, Frazer huge in LA, and your billboards and all over the place. Like how did you get into it and make that big leap to not just be a beat player in radio?
I started at the Tulare Fair, and
yeah, I took second place. No, yeah,
I was second place. Those guys always go far.
Yeah,
second place guys for some reason.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, I was going to college, and I really wasn't a very good student, and so I decided that, you know, I'd work at the campus radio station, because I think the easiest, or one of the easiest subjects you can graduate in is communications. So vague, you know. So I got a job, and then I got a job in town at a real radio station, and it was one of those stations where you had to do everything because it was such a small station. So I had to do like the weather and the sports and the news and the, you know, and play records, turn the station on and off at night when you left. You know, you had to do everything, which was kind of cool because I learned how to do everything. And then I would do fake voices for the sports guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then another fake voice for the news guy.
Do you remember the voices you would do?
This is, you know, you know, it was a top 40 station. So you were like, Super Bob number time, 2764 in the Horton Digital. Just a few moments, going to give you the numbers to call. We're here at WYYY. That was the name of the station, WYYY.
Oh, cool.
And then I jump over and do the sports guy. I don't remember how that guy was, but it was a fun gig. And it was just a way of really of getting out of doing actual schoolwork. And then I got a gig in Detroit at a pretty big station. And then from there, I came out to L.A., and I got to L.A. just as the music was kind of changing from, you know, traditional AOR rock radio. All the new wave and punk rock was coming in. And I was at K-Rock, which is a famous L.A. station, and I was there with Rodney Bingenheimer. And Rodney, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary on Rodney, He's the mayor of the Sunset Strip. And Rodney's really good at picking bands. He picked a lot of the big rock bands prior to that. He had a club in Los Angeles called Rodney's English Disco. And all the big bands, the Zeppelin and the Who and the Stones, and everybody would go there when they came to L.A. And Rodney helped discover Zeppelin and the Who. Wow. And he was the first guy to play a lot of those bands. So then when the new wave thing started to kick in, Rodney was kind of the pioneer in that area too. So he would tell us who to play, and he'd say, play this guy, Elvis Costello, play the Ramones. And I didn't even know who those groups were, but we would just go, okay, Rodney. And, that kind of got a lot of attention on the station. Yeah, I would always go to the Rainbow Bar and Grill, which is where all the rock stars hung out next to the Roxy, and all the up-and-coming bands. The big stars were there, and then up-and-comers too. And I would always leave with a pocket full of cassettes because there was a cassette era, and I was a big radio DJ. So all the bands would give me their cassettes. And when I got home, I would just throw them in a box, and I usually wouldn't even listen to them because I was, busy doing my show, and I didn't really have time to do that. So one night I listened to a Motley Crue cassette. Nobody knew who they were, and I liked a song called Live Wire. So I played it the next day on my show, and it kind of took off. It went, the fans kept calling in saying, who is that? What's that song? So do you
have any idea why you would listen to their album and you didn't listen to a lot of the other ones? Was it the album artwork, or was it a connection with the band? Or
no, a lot of times you just didn't even know who it was. You couldn't remember who gave it to you, and they didn't have an album out, so it wasn't like you knew who they were. It was just by chance, really. And but I listened to a bunch of them. It's like anything. You kind of put stuff off, and then all of a sudden you're like, I might as well. It's a rainy day. I'll listen to a bunch of these. David Lee Roth used to climb up through the through the fire escape and through the window at K-Rock.
Wow!
And he would come in. He would come into my studio, and I didn't. You don't know it's David Lee Roth, and he'd go, "Hey man, you got to play my test pressing." So I played "Ain't Talking About Love."
Ain't talking about love. That's cool.
Yeah, great song. That lit up the phones. So then I started playing that every week, and those were the days when you could still kind of do that. You could still break a band.
Yeah.
And then Rodney Bingenheimer, who I mentioned earlier, Rodney was also working there, and he would tell us stuff like, play this band called The Police, and nobody knew who they were. And I go, really? And he, play them. So then all of a sudden the Police were going to be playing the Whiskey in a couple of weeks. And, you go and see them at the Whiskey. And all of a sudden they're big. I thought I was ever on the air. I thought we froze up again. Was at K-Rock. And I heard, and I met Tom Petty, Blondie, the band Blondie, and the Ramones, and the Sex, or half the Sex Pistols. So I met, all those people. Like the first night they were all on Rodney's show that night.
Wow, that's amazing, man. That's amazing. Do you looking around your home? Did you happen to find any items you'd like to tell us about?
Well, as I told you, I have a Dane Cook action figure from 1993, which I can't find. I can't find that. I also have a doorstop that I got in Lancaster at a garage sale that looks exactly like Laugh Factory owner Jamie Masson. Either. I thought, I'm from Detroit, and I'm a big fan of all their teams. I'm not exactly sure why, because we're not doing they're not very good mostly. But I'll show you a couple of things. I have an autographed Denny McClain photo. This was the year he pitched. He won 31 games and won the Cy Young Award. Here's Denny McClain.
Wow. Oh, cool. That's so cool.
Autographed Denny McClain. Then the other great Detroit sports star, Barry Sanders. I have an autographed Barry Sanders picture.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, great Barry Sanders. Then I have an autographed Johnny Carson. Here's Johnny Carson.
That is wild.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's Carol Doda. Remember Carol Doda? And here's a plaque I got when I played in the Alice Cooper golf tournament.
Oh, cool. Hey, with Johnny Carson, did he autograph that for you, or did you get it already autographed? And did you ever meet?
It was already autographed.
Did you ever meet Johnny?
I did meet him. Yeah, I did meet Johnny Carson.
What was that?
Like? It was when I went to the Tonight Show with George Lopez.
Cool.
George was performing that night, and Johnny came in to say hi, and so I got to meet him.
Wow, that's cool. What was it? It's kind of a trip when you meet a legend like that, because we've seen them on television all those years, and you finally meet them, and
we are in show business. We get to meet a lot of celebrities and people that we look up to, but to me that was special. You don't get too nervous when you meet most of these people because we've been doing this for a while, so you're kind of used to it. But when I met him, I was nervous. I was like, "Wow, Johnny Carson."
Here's Johnny.
There he is. How about the time you did the Tonight Show? Tell us about that.
Oh, it was great with Jay Leno. He was amazing, man. He was so nice, and it was a real treat. And it was funny because at that time, my wife and we lived in Burbank, about a mile and a half from the Tonight Show. And I remember we lived also at that time, we lived in a studio apartment, like a little studio apartment. And I kind of didn't want to, they offered me a ride. They were like, "Hey, would you like the limousine to pick you up?" And I was like, "Nah," because I didn't want it to be like Cinderella, like the big limo. I'm on national television. And then at midnight, "Back to your studio." Yes.
Well, you did real well on there. I remember seeing it. You were great.
Thank you. I got another, something I'd like to share with you. This is funny. So when you said like the bands, they give you their tapes. "Hey, I'm the best. We're a great band. Here's a tape. Here's a cassette." I mean, how do you filter that? Because this is a letter that was sent to a comedy club years ago, many, many decades ago. I used to work behind the scenes at the Comedy Store. And somebody sent this letter in, and I have a copy of it because I just thought it was so funny how people are delusional. All right. So the letter starts out, "To whom it may concern, I am very interested in working at your club. I used to work for a private entertainment company that catered to high rollers, jet setters, top executives, and very influential business people from around the world. These private functions were never more than once a month, so my act remained a hobby that gave me some extra income. I am now ready to go public. My routine is mainly true stories, which I purposely started gathering at a young age because I got a kick out of it. I have lots of sex stories and bathroom humor. Things that everyone can relate to, or at least imagine. My descriptions and scenarios make them very unique. I like to use profanity, but I can tone it down if necessary. My routine can change by the second because I like to get the crowd involved. I encourage hecklers. And when it comes to ad-lib situations, I have no peers. I always win." If you're interested,
it kind of sort.
Oh, it closes like
sorry,
this.
I wrote.
Yeah. Oh, it says, "If you're interested in meeting me, please call me for an appointment. Sincerely." And then he signs his name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, who do you think that was?
Well, I Googled the name, and the guy's not even in show business or anything. So I don't even, it was, it would be awesome if it was like Dave Chappelle or somebody,
Yeah. He has no peers. Guy.
Yeah. It was just some random name, but it's like, it was one of those things I thought was so ridiculous that I kept a copy of it. And then as I would move throughout the years, I would always it always make the cut where I'm like, this is funny. And you keep moving it,
Well, isn't it funny how many people think that they think that,
Yeah.
it's just something they can jump in on.
Yeah.
And you know what, though, you mentioned that you were you're working at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
So many famous people started as, working at the Comedy Store as door guys.
Now you're at the Comedy Store on a regular basis, like at least every Monday. You're at all the comedy clubs. You host and you do other stuff. But have you? When's the last time you were on stage? Right now, like during this pandemic?
Well, just before everybody had to go in for the self quarantine, and I was at the Ha Club.
So that was like March. Were you there on a Saturday night?
Yeah.
So probably March 14th.
Something like that. Yeah. And I had just come back from Reno. I played, and I know you've played there too. I played the Reno Laugh Factory for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun.
This is kind of wild, right? To take a whole month off. It feels kind of weird, but
feels weird, doesn't it?
Yeah. What do you?
But then I did my first, Zoom show.
You did?
Yeah. And it felt weird.
Yeah.
The weird thing was I actually got more laughs with no audience than I do usually with an audience.
Yeah.
How that worked. But no, it was weird though, because your timing's really thrown off. You don't, you stop a joke and you're used to hearing something. And you hear nothing.
Yeah. Now your jokes are good because you do a lot of setup punchline.
Right. Well, and then I wrote a bunch of dumb jokes for the pandemic. I mean, just for the thing. And I did all those, but it just felt odd.
Do you remember any of the jokes off your COVID-19 set?
Well, yeah, I said, when you're stuck inside, you watch a lot of old movies. I go, the other night I actually watched the Titanic. I go, that's a 4.5 hour movie. I go, I started rooting for the iceberg.
Yeah. Is it the iceberg?
Oh, there he is. There's our favorite guy. Maybe that's the guy that wrote the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. It's a trip, right? Being, where I've been shaving but I always cut my own hair, so that hasn't changed. Usually your hair sticks up. I noticed now you're going with the bangs look or something.
Well, you just get lazy.
Yeah.
I think, you don't want to, don't go out, so you don't.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this: do you think clubs will come back quickly, or do you think that's going to take some time?
I think it's going to take a little time. They'll probably open little by little, right? Like the ones that have restaurants will probably be like, okay, then space everybody out and that kind of thing. I mean, I think it's going to be harder for the comics that do have the huge followings like that, because, it's going to be a long time before people are comfortable going to like those, 2,500 seat, theaters and stuff. But, I mean, if we're playing to like 50, 60 people, 100 people, I mean, that's a little, I can't wait though. It'll be great. Even just to have like 10 people in a room performing for them. It'll be awesome.
Well, you start jumping, right? Yeah. Now, do you think that they'll have to spread people out, have them sit 6 feet apart, stuff like that?
I think so. And back in the old days, last month, we wouldn't like that. We'd like, no, pack them in there together. Now we'd be appreciate just anybody in there. Just if there's 10 people, I don't care as long as we got some people.
Do you think that the big comedians who usually draw big crowds are going to have to start coming back and playing at the clubs now again?
Probably, but I think some of them may want to just wait it out and be like, you know what, I'll just take another 2 months off, and then I'm imagining. I think it's gonna be different for everybody. How about radio?
Yeah.
Are you doing radio now? Or are you doing it from your home?
I'm off now. I'm off, and pretty much the same time as they shut the clubs down, they shut the radio station down. They can run automated shows, so that's what they're doing. And I come back June 1st.
Oh, okay. That's
they
good.
Told me, yeah.
Man, I've done some weird stuff now. Like, what my sister-in-law needed a wheelbarrow fixed. So I actually, I figured out how to like take some tools and take the wheel off and get another wheelbarrow wheel and put it on there. And, just, it's weird, right? Like, just like, I never would have done that before. Like I helped plant some trees,
That might be might be a new gig for you.
I know, right? I'll fix your wheelbarrow. It was
Darren Carter's nursery.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to keep busy.
You know what I did the other day, which I hadn't done in a long time. I actually took a broom and I was sweeping and I swept. They have a like a homemade basketball court kind of thing, like it's cement and it's surrounded by dirt. And I swept the entire half court or whatever. It's not a full half court, but just when's the last time you swept outdoors? I mean, I swept and it actually was very. Like I felt like the Karate Kid or something. It was kind of like, it was like I was meditating on it or something. You're sweeping your lines and almost like
like Jim Carrey and Bruce Almighty, where God gets him to mop the floor.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
I did the baseball style. You know how like baseball field, like you make the rows this lateral then horizontal and first I did it angrily where you're just back and forth like and then I kind of did it a little bit neater and. I don't know. It's kind of cool. And no one really cares afterwards. Even the story, no one cares about the story. But for myself, it was great to sweep,
Well, little manual labor never hurt anyone. Now, what about baseball? You mentioned baseball. Do you think they'll come back? I mean, they're now talking about playing games in a number of different sports with no crowd. But I think that's got to be weird.
Yeah, that's got to be weird. It might not be weird. Well, I don't know. Would it be weird for the home audience? Because,
not for the home audience, maybe. Well,
yeah.
Even though, I mean, I think the players get a lot of energy from the crowd.
I think one of the weirdest sports would be probably like UFC. Then it looks like just two guys beating each other up. That's got to be, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It looks like people say,
weird.
Yeah, they think it already looks kind of brutal. And then to see like no audience, no ring girls, just two guys like
these guys just had a beef.
Yeah, it's weird,
I think a lot of sports are going to seem weird. You're right. UFC will be weird. I think almost every sport's going to seem. LeBron said that he didn't really want to play with no crowd.
You know what? I did see something that was cool on ESPN. They showed people playing horse with the NBA.
Yeah.
The NBA players doing horse, and they did it virtually. Like they would, each had their wherever they were, like Fresno, San Diego, LA, Detroit. Okay, I'm at this angle. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I've been playing horse a lot lately on that basketball court, so I can really identify with the playing horse.
That's cool. How long can you do that before you're going to want to see a real game?
Yeah, it's like enough of this horsing around.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, well, Frazer, we'll wrap this up, man. We had some technical problems, but we made it happen. Anything else you'd like to say or close?
Well, just it's always a pleasure to be on your show, and we wish everyone safety and health, good health right now. I'm still doing my podcast. So you can still check out, it's called Puck Off, and it's on Stitchers and iTunes. We do it over at Bill Burr's studio.
All things comedy.
It's all things comedy. And it's me, Joe Bartnick, and Andy Piccaro. Pretty funny and pretty fun.
Great. If you guys like hockey, check it out. And next time you're in LA, listen to Frazer on KLOS Sunday nights.
I'll be back on June 1st. Check us out. We would appreciate it. 11 till 3 on Sunday night. And then I'm going to be at the Tulare State Fair.
Yeah, I know.
They're having a comedy contest, so I'll be doing that.
All right, Frazer. Man, I can't wait till this is over and you and I can have a nice lunch back at the Smokehouse across from Warner Brothers, man, and just, talk shop and write jokes and enjoy life like we used to.
You're a great joke writer. Great joke writer. Always appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. All right, man. I'll see you later. Right. Thanks for coming on.
See you, buddy.
See ya.
I'm heading to Fresno.
We're done with this interview.
When my son was about 10 years old. I remember he came into the kitchen and he goes, "Hey Mom, how many pounds do you weigh?" And she goes, "You never ask a woman how many pounds." And he thought about it and he goes, "How many tons?" I said, "This kid's funny. I gotta write that down." Anyways, I'm gonna write some more jokes down. And while I'm doing that, you guys click one of these bubbles and watch another one of my videos. And thanks again for subscribing. Thank you.
Pocket party.